Westminster as the old palace burnt down in 1834. And in this very powerful building, all our laws and legislation are made for the country in this very building. Known as the Houses of Parliament because it's made up of two houses, the House of Commons and the House of Lords, and that is their two debating chambers. You can see two different coloured canopies there on the right, one green, one red, and that's because everything green belongs to the House of Commons, everything red belongs to the House of Lords, and that is their lunch dining area. So you can try and wave at the MPs. I doubt any of them will wave back. The tallest tower you see with the flagpole on top, that's Victoria Tower. After a general election, all our ballots are stored in there for up to a year before then being destroyed. Just before we turn around, you can see a small turret there at the edge of Parliament with some steps leading down. That's known as Black Rod Steps. And that's the smallest prison in the world. And if you are a traitor to the crown, you'd be put in that prison cell, thrown down the steps into a waterman's boat, and you'd be making the same journey we're making today to the Tower of London. And that is where they would face their most likely gruesome fate. So traitors such as Guy Fawkes, remember the 5th of November, that's where he would have been put into. Hopefully I won't have to drop any of you off at the tower, unless you stand on the upper deck for no good reason. I'll be watching all of you. We are an interactive cruise, guys, so that means you can wave at everyone we see, and we'll be passing under many, many, many bridges. Everyone loves a good wave. But you can see Lambeth Bridge on the right here is red, and Westminster Bridge we just passed under is green. So in the past, the MPs from Parliament couldn't even share the same bridge, so the peers from the House of Lords would use Lambeth Bridge on the right, whereas the MPs from the House of Commons would use Westminster Bridge on the left. And the reason why they were segregated was to avoid corruption. I'll let you form your own opinions on that. But now all that's separate is the dining area and of course the debating chambers. You can see just in front of us there's three identical buildings there just on the right. That's part of St Thomas's Hospital, and they are part of the old Florence Nightingale wings. There used to be 7 of these identical buildings, one to represent each day of the week, because if you were sick on a Monday, you'd go to the Monday ward, Tuesday to the Tuesday ward, and I think you all know your days of the week. All that remains left are Friday, Saturday and Sunday. So if you are an MP, that stands for a Member of Parliament, you are elected into that position, as we have general elections and local elections here in the UK. Whereas if you are a peer in the House of Lords, you are either appointed by the Queen or you inherit the title, having been from an aristocratic family. So can anybody see Big Ben? Put your hand up. Anyone see Big Ben today? Well then, so many superheroes on board with X-ray vision. And that's because Big Ben is actually the name of the 13.5-ton bell on the inside. The clock tower is called the Elizabeth Tower, named after our current monarch, Queen Elizabeth II. And unfortunately covered up by all the scaffolding for now until the year 2021. And that's because no one's been up there for about 40 years. So there's a lot of rust on the bell and a lot of work that needs to be done on the clock. But the bell will still ring out on important events such as New Year's and Memorial Day. But now to our right, we have the Coca-Cola London Eye, standing at 135 metres tall. It's a cantilevered observation wheel, which means it's only held up on the one side by an A-frame, the world's tallest observation wheel. The reason why it's called an observation wheel is because the 32 capsules always face the outside during the entire rotation, and so that's what makes it different to a Ferris wheel. Even though there are 32 capsules, they are numbered up to 33 because we skip number 13 for superstitious reasons, and each capsule is named after a different borough here in London. The London Eye, designed by a husband and wife architectural team, David Marks and Julia Barfield, opened in the year 2000 for the millennium, originally called the Millennium Eye. and was only meant to remain there for 1 year as a temporary art exhibition, but they saw how successful the Eye was doing, and of course it's still here today. Cost about £75 million to build the London Eye, but they made that money back within its first 5 years of opening. These next set of bridges, the Golden Jubilee bridges, built to complement the London Eye. The 2-foot bridges either side sandwich the Hungerford Railway Bridge, and so trains go from Charing Cross Station on the left to Waterloo on the right. But Charing Cross there on the left with the black arch, that back end was built in 1992, designed by Terry Farrell. He designed it to resemble a train coming out of an archway bellowing steam, although more people have said it looks more like Batman's mask, the Wonder Woman symbol, a toaster. So if you look to your left, you'll see a tall pencil-like object. This is Cleopatra's obelisk. That's the oldest thing you'll see in London outside of a museum. It's over 3,000 years old, older than London itself. And that was given to us by the Egyptian government. Notice I said given, one of the things the British did not steal. But we did add the 2 sphinxes at the bottom in 1886. And our Victorian government, we actually got it wrong, because according to Egyptian mythology, the 2 sphinxes at the bottom are meant to face away from the needle to protect it. But we made them face each other so that they could keep each other company and have a lovely little chat all this time. Coming up, we've got Waterloo Bridge, nicknamed the Ladies' Bridge. And that's because when the men went off to fight during World War II, women built this bridge. Unfortunately, we don't have any photographic evidence of this, but I'll give you 3 reasons how we know this bridge is built by women. 1, this is the only bridge in London that was built on time. 2, the only bridge in London built under budget. And 3, this is the only self-cleaning bridge here in London. So, Ladies' Bridge? Yes, I think so. Well done, ladies. Give yourselves a round of applause for our bridge. Made out of Portland stone, so when it rains, the acidity of the rain reacts with the alkali of the stone, and that's what cleans the bridge. Coming up on the right, that white building past all those trees, is our London ITV studios. ITV is the second largest broadcaster here in the UK, just after the BBC. They produce shows such as Britain's Got Talent, The Voice UK, Love Island, Loose Women. So some really, really rich educational shows for us British. You actually see one of their studios, that white building on the right, that's Studio 8. It's where they film a breakfast show called This Morning, hosted by Holly and Phil. And if you were on our very first cruise this morning, you would be floating by in the background on TV. The tide of the Thames is low today, so you can see our lovely sandy riverbanks there. The lovely Costa del Thames. Who needs to go abroad when you can have a cheeky sunbathe over there? But lots of artists do like to go there and sculpt things into the sand. You may have seen in the corner there. So if you're walking along the embankments there, do peer over and see what type of sculptures they've made. To the right, this building with the red and white stripes is now a Harvey Nichols restaurant, but it used to be the old meat production factory for the Oxo stock cubes. And Oxo actually taken to court for their tower. And that's because they were taken to court in the 1920s, and that's because all advertising on the Thames was made to be illegal during that time. That's because the Thames is a royal highway, so the royals, they would cruise down the Thames and they wouldn't want to see any promoting from any company, and Oxo were taken to court. But when questioned by the judge, their lawyer said, no, that tower does not say Oxo. We simply ordered some random geometric shapes. They happen to make a circle, cross, and a circle. Doesn't mean anything. And the judge actually let them off with it. So legally, that tower does not say Oxo. And if that's not enough, if you come back at night, the tower is even lit up red for the Oxo company colours. So well done to them who got away with it. Coming up, these next set of bridges, these are the Blackfriars bridges. This first red bridge we're going under, this is the Victorian Foot and Road Bridge, and then the blue bridge ahead, that is the underground I mean, that is the railway bridge, sorry. Sure, some of you may be wondering though, what on earth are these mysterious red columns to the left and right? Are they giant bird tables? Are they London's version of Stonehenge? Are they too sponsored by Coca-Cola? Well, you're just going to have to wait and find out on our return journey, so stay tuned everyone. If you take a look to your left, you'll see a domed cathedral. This is St. Paul's Cathedral. It's the second largest domed cathedral in the world, just after St. Peter's Basilica in the Vatican City. The one you see now was designed in 1710 by Sir Christopher Wren, as the original medieval cathedral burnt down in the Great Fire of London in 1666. Designed to be 365 feet high to represent each day of the year, because Sir Christopher Wren wanted it to resemble how faith and religion go on throughout the year. You may have noticed how there aren't any tall buildings surrounding it. That's due to a special law called the Protected Vistas, which states that St. Paul's Cathedral must be visible from 13 key points here in London. Coming up, this next bridge, Millennium Bridge, also nicknamed the Wobbly Bridge, and that's because when it first opened, there was a 6-inch sway both sides, so pedestrians walking over it felt a little bit sick. We had to close this bridge only 2 days after opening. We flew in the small help of NASA to help fix this bridge. It took about 18 months to fix, and it cost more to fix the bridge than to build the bridge itself. Just on the right there, you'll see a white building with a thatched roof. This is the replica of Shakespeare's Globe Theatre. That's the only thatched roof building left here in London, because after the Great Fire they were all made to be illegal, so they had to get special planning permission to build it, and they built it using the same tools and methods as they would have in the past, so no electricity was used, and all the timber was sourced here in the UK. And the Globe is an open air theatre, so you can see Shakespeare's plays in there for as little as £5. You'd be seen as the peasants of the day, so you'd have to stand for the whole duration of the play. But of course, don't worry, you can pay more for seats, and they do guided tours in there as well. The original location is here on the right hand side, this black building with the letters FT on the side. This is the Financial Times headquarters, but that's the original location of the Globe before it burnt down due to a live cannon being fired on stage. Just next to it on the right, that quaint little pub with red windows, the Anchor. That's one of London's oldest riverside buildings here, over 500 years old. Shakespeare and his company used to drink in that pub and use it as dressing rooms before performing at the Globe. Charles Dickens used to drink in there. Samuel Pepys wrote his famous diaries in there. And even Tom Cruise had a pint in there after filming the very first Mission Impossible film. And they have award-winning fish and chips in there. So if you don't know where to go for lunch after, maybe pop into the Anchor. On the right, in between the two sandy-coloured buildings, you will see a pirate ship. This is the replica of Sir Francis Drake's Golden Hind, and that ship you see today that has sailed around the world twice. Double the amount the original did, so well done those of you good at maths. The original only sailed around the world once. And Sir Francis Drake took his Golden Hind out in 1577. But he returned 3 years later, having gotten a little bit lost. But when he returned, he was not branded a pirate, no, because he returned with £25 million, all stolen from the Spanish and the Portuguese. So if there are any Spanish or any Portuguese on board today, thank you very much. You helped repay our national debt 3 times over. But I'm sorry, I don't think you'll be getting your money back anytime soon. And that's also why Sir Francis Drake was knighted and sent to have dinner with the Queen, because that's just how we do it here. So all of you on the upper deck, on the count of 3, let's play a little game. On the count of 3, everyone point to London Bridge. Ready? 1, 2, 3, point! Oh, okay, we've got quite mixed reviews here. Okay, if you pointed in front of us, you are wrong. That is Tower Bridge. That concrete slab we passed under was London Bridge, and it was written into the sides of the walls. So I was seeing who's paying attention. I was trying to distract you with the Golden Hind. I'll talk more about the bridges when we get nearer to them. I'm sure some of you though may have noticed the 11,500 ton warship coming up on the right. Don't worry if you didn't know, it is painted in North Atlantic camouflage, so it's meant to be difficult to spot. This is the HMS Belfast. She was the largest cruiser used in the British fleet during World War II. The guns on the front of the boat can fire up to 12 miles away. The HMS Belfast was used in the Korean War, fired the very first shots at the D-Day landings, and she destroyed Hitler's favourite warship, the Scharnhorst, as well. The HMS Belfast, built in the same dockyard as the Titanic, so I would say this one did a little bit more successfully. The HMS Belfast, now a floating all-access museum, bought by the Imperial War Museum for the grand total of £1, and that's because the ship was to be sold off for scrap metal. For all you school kids on board, your schools can have a sleepover on there. It's called Kip on a Ship, so try and convince your teachers. Sorry, teachers. But you get to sleep in the sailors' quarters. You see the history of the ship, and yeah, it's really great fun actually. But now, of course, in front of us, the beautiful Tower Bridge, the world's most photographed bridge, so thank you everyone for contributing to that status today. The bits in the middle, they open up to let through big ships, so this is a bascular bridge. In its heyday, it used to open up about 14 times a day, but now you'll be lucky if it opens up maybe once or twice a week, but they always post all the opening times onto their website, so do pop along there. But now guys, tradition states that if you wave to someone on Tower Bridge and they wave back, you get 5 years good luck, so start waving, make some noise, get them to wave back! Thank you to that lovely couple. Jim and Pam, we pay them to stand up there all day and wave back at us. See, look, they're doing the job so well. Hello! No, we don't. They're friendly enough to wave back. But well done, everyone. You got the whole boat. 5 years, good luck. And the reason why we have that tradition there is because when the Navy used to sail out to war or for merchant dealings, this would be the last bridge they would pass under. So this was their last chance to wave at their friends and their family and their loved ones. How sad. And usually they would return 5 years later. So that's where that tradition comes from. This open area we're entering into now is known as the Old Port of London. Up until the 1940s, this used to be the busiest port in the world with up to 9,000 ships in this area. You'd be able to cross the Thames jumping from boat to ship to barge to boat without getting your feet wet. But due to the invention of containerization, this port then became derelict, and the warehouses either side are now luxury apartments. A very clever businessman decided to turn all these warehouses into apartments in the 1980s. So if you want a one-bedroom in Butler's Wharf on the right facing the Thames, it would cost you a small fee of £3 million with a 2-year waiting list. So yeah, very clever businessman, I would say. Did you know that WHARF stands for Warehouse at Riverfront? There is your pointless fun fact of the day. For all you keen photographers on board, get your cameras ready. Your perfect photo opportunity on the left here. We've got Tower Bridge stretching across the Thames, your full-body view, with London's modern skyline in the background. Look, I even summoned a couple double-decker buses for you just to make it just that more extra British for you. Perfect for your Facebook cover photos, your Instagrams, your Snapchat stories. Hashtag Tower Bridge, not London Bridge. Hashtag wish you were here. No, not really. Hashtag Kathleen is the best tour guide. Oh, who said that? Thanks so much, guys. I'll be looking out for that one. The stonework on it is merely cosmetic. The bridge is largely made out of metal. You might think Tower Bridge looks really old, but it was actually only built in 1884. Originally painted a chocolate brown colour, as this was Queen Victoria's favourite colour, and then repainted the much more pretty red, white and blue in 1977. As we make our way under the bridge, if you take a look up at the 2 pedestrian walkways at the top, you'll see 2 glass bottom floors, and you might see some feet up there now. People walking over it, home to the Tower Bridge experience. It's a lovely museum up there. They go through bridges all across the world, the history of London and how the bridge works as well. You might recognise this bridge as well. Recently been in the new Spider-Man movie. So he did all his filming up there as well. Oh, guys, didn't I say if you get a wave on the way back, it's 10 years bad luck? Oh, no, only joking. You might be wondering why this bridge is called Tower Bridge. Well, not only because of the towers on it, but to the right we have the Tower of London. Over 900 years old, parts of it date back to William the Conqueror. That central tower there, that is from the days of William the Conqueror. And just on the right there in white writing, you can see it says entry to the Traitors' Gate. And if you remember Blackrod Steps at the edge of Parliament, so that's where all our traitors would have been taken into. So Guy Fawkes would have gone through there on the waterman's boat, gated up for now. But that was known as the first one-way street in London, because once you're going in there, you weren't coming back out. The Tower of London has been many things over the years. It's been a royal mint, royal zoo, royal palace, royal armoury, and of course, more famously, a royal prison and place of execution. And the reason why we have the unlucky number 13 is because when people were sent to the tower to get their heads chopped off, it was rumoured to have been used to have 13 swings of the axe to take a head off the body. So that's where the unlucky number 13 comes from. But when the Tower of London used to be a royal zoo before relocating to Regent's Park, if you brought your cat or your dog along, you would gain free entry, and that's because you would then feed them to the lions. How nice. See, the tower provides such fun, lovely stories to tell. If you take a look to your left, you won't have to crank your necks on the lower deck, you will see the Shard. The Shard is the tallest building in Western Europe. You have to go to St. Petersburg in Russia to find anything taller. It's over 1,000 feet tall, so that's about 3 London Eyes stacked on top of each other. And it's as tall as aviation laws would allow us to build it. The Shard is a multi-purpose building, so inside there are offices, restaurants, cocktail bars. 17 of the floors make up the 6-star Shangri-La Hotel, and the top 10 floors are reserved for luxury apartments. So if any of you want to buy an apartment in the Shard, they range from about 30 to 50 million pounds. If any of you are thinking of buying an apartment in the Shard, please do come and find me after, and I'll be your new best friend, because I clearly need you in my life. And the reason why it's called the Shard is to resemble shards of glass being stuck together. Take a look to your right, you'll see a tall building which is wider at the top and then slimmer as it goes down. You might think it looks a bit like a walkie-talkie. Well, that's the walkie-talkie building. It's mainly office space, but at the very top you've got London's largest indoor rooftop gardens, the Sky Gardens. That's free to go to. That's right, free. You simply have to go onto their website and book a time slot at least 1 week in advance, because especially now during summer times, it's very busy. You can try and queue up on the day, but I don't think it's likely you'll get a spot, so it's just easier for you to book a slot on their website. And they've got a couple restaurants up there and cafes, but lovely views of this area of London as well. We do like our views here in London. Another great viewpoint coming up on the right in between the 2 grey buildings, you'll see a tall column with a golden orb on top. This is London's monument built to commemorate the Great Fire of London in 1666. You might see some people up there now. Oh yeah, a couple of people up there. So you can climb the monument. It's about 311 steps. I know that's quite long, but don't worry, you get a lovely certificate for your great workout. And of course you do get to see the history of London during the Great Fire in the monument, and a lovely view up there as well. But here we are, London Bridge. There is written into the sides of the walls left and right. See, I wasn't joking. Many people get the 2 bridges confused. If you Google London Bridge, you'll get pictures of Tower Bridge. Even the American singer Fergie, she had a song called London Bridge, but she filmed the entire thing on Tower Bridge. So well done to her, she tried. London Bridge, though, that version is not the that's the newest version, sorry. That's about the 8th version. London Bridge has been built and rebuilt many, many times. And that's because the original bridge built by the Romans was made out of wood. Due to the strong current of the Thames, parts of the wooden bridge would always get swept up and washed away, so the bridge always used to collapse. And whenever it did, Londoners would stand either side of the river and they would start singing "London Bridge is falling down." Up until the 18th century, London Bridge was the only bridge connecting both sides of the river, and it used to be really busy on there. There were houses like 6 stories high. A church was on there, lots of shops and merchants on there. It would take you about an hour to cross that bridge, and that's actually where we first started driving, on the left hand side, so to avoid congestion on that bridge. Just passing on a Cannon Street Railway Bridge now. We know it's an ugly bridge, doesn't do much, just carries trains back and forth. Designed by British Rail, who clearly have no imagination. But thank God we're past it now. In front of us, the beautiful Southwark Bridge. Unfortunately nicknamed the Lonely Bridge, and that's because it's the least used bridge here in London. No major landmarks either side, least amount of pedestrians and vehicles on it, difficult to find. If you do manage to find it though, do come back at night, because the lanterns at the top, they are still partially gaslit. The only gaslit lanterns left here in London. And the bridge is lit up a really beautiful purple and green colour. Coming up on the left, you'll see you'll see a building with a 125-foot chimney. This used to be the old Bankside Power Station. It's now the Tate Modern Art Gallery. The Tate is an art gallery from all over the world from the 1900s till present. All the main exhibitions are free to go to as well. Hello everyone on the lower deck. How are you guys doing down here? Hiya, much warmer down here, much cozier. It's me, it's my voice. Hi guys, you're right. So the reason why it closed down as a Bankside power station was because it was releasing too much pollution and smog into the air here in London. So it closed and reopened as an art gallery for the millennium. And coming up again, Millennium Bridge. A lot of things happened here in London for the millennium. The Millennium Bridge is seen connecting the Beauty to the Beast, the Beauty being St. Paul's and the Beast being the power station. You might recognise this bridge though, famously been in movies such as Harry Potter and the Half-Blood Prince, London Has Fallen, Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2, and in all those movies the bridge shares the common theme of being blown up and destroyed. So thank you Hollywood. Trying to subtly tell us something about this bridge movie. Do we have any Harry Potter fans on board today? Give me a wave. Anyone? A couple? Well, if you look to the right, that's where Harry Potter went to school. No, unfortunately not Hogwarts. This is the City of London School for Boys. It's where the actor Daniel Radcliffe, he got his A-levels there. And if you want to send your son there, it would cost you about £20,000 a year. So I suggest you send your favourite son. Coming up again, Blackfriars Bridges. This first blue bridge, the 50 solar panels on top contribute to about 50% of the electricity inside the station. You might recognise the solar panels though in the newest Mission Impossible film. You can see Tom Cruise running across all these solar panels. So the reason why these are called the Blackfriars Bridges is because there used to be a Dominican friary on the right hand side of the river, and the friars there would always dress up in black robes, so they were known as the Black Friars. But now back to these mysterious red columns. Tell you about them now. So the red columns used to be a bridge in itself, carrying steam engine trains from London to Dover. And that's why these bridges are nicknamed the 2.5 bridges. But when diesel trains were invented, they got too heavy, so they had to dismantle the bridge and they built the new one we've passed under. In order to remove the red columns though, they would have had to blow them up with dynamite as they're so deeply entrenched into the Thames. But that would have of course just blown up the two new bridges either side. So we painted the columns red and hoped no one would notice them. And the columns are actually now grade 2 listed, so we can't remove them now, even if we wanted to. Some of you may be wondering what all this construction work is on the right. It's just because they're just building a new sewer system here in London. Ours date back to Victorian times, very, very old. But yeah, that's it really. It's a bit of an eyesore. But if you want to know more, just go to Google and search for the Great Stone. This area on the right, obscured by all the trees, this is known as the Knights Templar, or the Inner Temple. And in the past, all our knights used to live in this area. But back when they went off to fight the Crusades, they lent this area out to all the barristers and lawyers. And of course, what happened? When the knights returned, those sneaky lawyers changed all the laws and the knights were kicked out of this area. To this day, it still belongs to our barristers and lawyers. All the Inns of Courts are there, and the Royal Courts of Justice is there too. But so this area has been preserved really well historically, used in a lot of filming of period dramas, such as Assassin's Creed, Downton Abbey, Mr. Selfridge. They were all filmed in this area. If you take a walk along there, it looks like you have stepped back in time. You can see, if you look at the red phone box on the back there, you can see a stained glass window that's meant to be a knight in the phone box, to show that this is the Knights Templar. And coming up on the right, you'll see 2 silver dragons on the road and an archway. This is known as King's Reach or Temple Arch, and that's old Father Thames carved into the stone now, keeping an eye on all us travellers. King's Reach, this symbolises where the City of London, which is the city of commerce, meets with the City of Westminster, which is the city of royalty. And tradition states that if the Queen wants to enter the City of London, she has to ask permission first from our Lord Mayor before entering, because royalty and commerce do not mix. Anyway, you see silver dragons on the road. This symbolises where the old walls of the city of Londinium stood when it was built by the Romans. And they built a wall surrounding the city of London in order to protect it from any invaders. So if you see any silver dragons here in London, well, you know what that means. If you take a look to your left, no, that's not a car park with electronic advertising on the side. No, that's our Royal National Theatre. Described by Prince Charles as looking like the back end of a nuclear power plant. How sad, not even the front. But designed under brutalist architecture. We all know it's what's on the inside that counts. There are 3 beautiful theatres inside, the largest being the Olivier Theatre, named after Laurence Olivier, its very first art director. And you can see plays in there, starting from about £15, which may then go on to the West End, such as War Horse. War Horse first started at the Royal National before going to the West End. This building on the right, this Georgian building with the green dome and pride flag on top, this is Somerset House. Used to be where all the births, marriages and deaths in England and Wales was registered. This building had the nickname the Hatcham, the Matcham and the Dispatcham building. Now home to a lovely art gallery inside the Courtauld Institute, home to works from Monet, Renoir and Van Gogh. And now it's summertime. In their courtyard there's a lovely open air cinema run by Channel 4, and they're showing different films there every day throughout summer at different times. So pop along to the website to buy tickets and see what films are showing, and you get to bring a lovely picnic and watch a film in their courtyard, and hopefully the weather will be nice enough. This building to the right with the green roof and the single flag on top, this is our famous Savoy Hotel. It's one of the most expensive hotels here in London. The most expensive hotel room, the presidential suite in there, costs about £12,000 a night, and it's required that you stay there for a minimum of 3 nights. So just to put that into perspective for you all, 3 nights at the Savoy's most expensive hotel room is 3 years for me at university. What a nice comparison. But lots of celebrities do like to stay at the Savoy, such as Taylor Swift, Justin Bieber, Charlie Chaplin always used to stay there. And the Savoy was the first building to have ensuite bathrooms as well, and electricity actually. On the left you'll see Royal Festival Hall, home to our London Philharmonic Orchestra, and just next to it Queen Elizabeth Hall and the Purcell Rooms. The area collectively on the left makes South Bank. South Bank, built for the Festival of Britain in 1961 to boost more